on the A Game, we've got all things App State basketball, a brand new Mountaineer spotlight, and more.
Zach Lyon is here to share his perspective on how the Sun Belt Conference standings might shake up.
Thanks for joining us. It's time for the A Game here on AppTV.
What's up, App State fans? We thank you for joining us for another episode of the A Game. We want to begin today's show with men's and women's basketball from the weekend when they traveled to the state of Arkansas for 2 games against Arkansas State and Little Rock. We'll begin today with the women's basketball team. Appalachian State women's basketball team split the season series with Arkansas State, falling 69-52 on the road. Lucretia Stanley led all players in scoring with 20 points, but it was a slow start for the Mountaineers and then a fast one for Arkansas State that doomed them for the rest of the game. By the end of the first quarter, Arkansas State held a 21-9 lead, and they just never looked back. The black and gold would only get as close as 9 points the rest of the way. Ashley, to me, biggest thing, Lainey Gosnell in the first game of this year's series, she had 18 points off 6 3-pointers. In the second game, 0 from 3 from beyond the arc.
But I think the 0 points that you mentioned came from the very slow start that the Mountaineers had from the very beginning. But they did try to close that gap late in the game, but they just couldn't do it. Yeah. So hopefully Coach Elderkin will preach all this week for the Coastal game consistency from beginning of the game to the end. It's
always good to be in the year on a win.
Exactly. And moving on to men's basketball from Thursday. The men's basketball team fell in overtime 82-79 to Arkansas State despite Ron Shabazz's 32 points. It was Shabazz's third 30-point game of the season. A back-and-forth game the Mountaineers led at the half and then played solid defense down the stretch to force the overtime session. The Mountaineers fought hard, but Shabazz's game-tying 3 fell short at the end of overtime to give Arkansas State the win. You know what, Braxton? Coach Fox has consistently given Shabazz the ball in the final seconds of the game, but who do you think could be the next Shabazz going into next season when Shabazz will be a senior and then with him leaving?
I think another year for Justin Forrest will give him a lot of confidence. He's been that guy at times this year, and when he does play along with Ron Shabazz well, they're a really difficult team. So another year for Justin Forrest will certainly help him and Shabazz and the rest of this team. So moving to women's basketball from Saturday, when they stayed in the state of Arkansas to play Little Rock. Women's basketball team faced a tough loss, another one, this time to Little Rock, 61-35. However, Lucretia Stanley tallied her 15th double-digit game of the season with 10 points, and Bailey Plummer earned her 23rd game of the year with 10 or more rebounds. The team will conclude their regular season this Saturday against Coastal Carolina in the Holmes Convocation Center. Another thing that we've talked about a lot of times this year already is that you lose Maddie Story in the first exhibition game of the year, and now you're 5-12. You're locked into 9th place. And to lose your best player going into the year can cause a lot of uncertainty. But this team, coached by Angel Elderkin, has had a lot of really talented games that's shown that they can be a great team moving forward.
Of course, and even though they did lose most of their starting lineup very early in the season, we have seen how they can get over the adversity throughout the whole season. But it's really, really hard to beat a team who's 27-1 on their home floor.
Yeah.
And moving to men's basketball from Saturday, the men's basketball team stole a road win against Arkansas Little Rock Saturday. The Mountaineers won 69-67 behind 18 points from Ron Shabazz and Justin Forrest. Senior Craig Hinton put the Mountaineers up by 5 with under 20 seconds to go, hitting 2 free throws. Little Rock scored a layup immediately after, but Shabazz hit 2 more free throws to seal the game for the Mountaineers. Here's what the win does for App State in the Sun Belt Conference standings. The top 3 seeds are out of reach for the Mountaineers, but if you look here, there are 5 teams grouped within a game of each other from 4th to 6th place. A win for App this weekend and a loss by Troy, UL Monroe, and UT Arlington would give the Black and Gold a first-round bye in the Sun Belt Conference tournament coming up.
And how big would that be, Ashley? We've talked with Zach Lyon before about this, that They were picked 11th in the conference at the beginning of the year by the coaches, and now they have a chance to be 4th, 5th, or 6th as they sit 7th right now. A win right here, you get to sit back and relax and wait to see what the other teams do, and then you could very well see yourself in a bye or a higher seed in the Sun Belt Conference tournament.
And I think knowing that they were picked almost dead last in the conference has given this team this year the motivation to prove everybody wrong, honestly.
No doubt.
And coming up after the break, we have Zach Lyon back on the show with us to give a breakdown of the men's basketball games over the weekend. So stay right here on the A Game.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
Welcome back to the A Game. We got Zach Lyon back with us in studio to talk about Appalachian State basketball. 1-1 week last week as they prepare for Coastal Carolina this coming Saturday. Zach, Justin Forrest had a great game this past weekend. Him and Shabazz led the team with 18 points, but Forrest also had 4 assists on the day. What do you see from him and how he played in that game?
Yeah, Justin didn't play like a freshman on the road at Little Rock. He was a leader. He made some really clutch shots. He distributed the ball well. He ran Fox's sets very well, and overall, he was one of the main reasons we won that game.
And speaking of the Little Rock game, how was the momentum going from Thursday night's overtime loss to Arkansas State going to that very close win at Little Rock?
Yeah, when we watched film the day after the Arkansas State game, Fox's main point was our energy and our effort is great, but we didn't execute down the stretch. We would go up and we would kind of get comfy with a lead and we wouldn't execute, and we'd go down, we'd go up, we'd go down, and unfortunately we were on the wrong side of it at the end of overtime. So that was the main thing, was just coming to the Little Rock game, we needed to execute along with bringing energy and effort.
So now the team is just 1 game back from 500. Here we are again, and the standings, this is always fun in a lot of sports. At this point in the year, you got 1 game left. Right. Depending on what you do and then what other teams do in the conference, there's several scenarios where App State can jump several places in the standings, and it's just a lot of fun to watch those and how those kind of play out this last week or so.
Yeah, you know, we're right there. Even though if you look on the standings, I believe we're in 7th place right now. It might look like we're out, but if we were to beat Coastal and a few other teams were to lose, we'd be right there in that 4th spot, and we'd be getting a first-round bye in the conference tournament.
And to beat Coastal and go 9-9 for the regular season and get that first-round bye, what do you think the team is going to do to prepare for that coming off a 1-1 weekend?
I think the mindset will be just about the same as last time we played Coastal. They're big like we are. They're one of the top rebounding teams in the conference like us, so they match up really well with us. I think it goes with Little Rock, just like Fox said. We need to bring that balance of bringing energy, and we have to execute our plays, and I think we'll be fine.
Obviously, there's a lot more that needs to be done for this year's team. There's still games to be played. You've still got the tournament coming up. But if the season ended today, you know, you're only 1 game back of 500. You weren't expected to be this good. What does this mean for Appalachian State basketball moving forward? How good this season's been? Right.
Well, yeah, you know, after we lost Arkansas State, you know, in that film session, Fox had a piece of paper of the preseason coaches rankings for our conference, where it showed us in 11 out of 12 where the coaches picked us. And on the bottom of the paper, he had wrote, never forget. And he was just kind of trying to remind the guys, even though we lost, we still made great improvements from last season, and we need to just keep bringing it every game and try to keep going up in the standings.
Now, let's play hypothetical here for a second. If you're Coach Jim Fox, you come home from practice or a week like this, you go 1-1 again, and here you are in a great spot again. What's your assessment of the team at this point?
Yeah, I think it's kind of bittersweet, you know, because we've obviously made great improvements from last season, but at the same time, if you go look at our schedule from non-conference and in-conference play, there's so many close games where we could have won, and we could be right there in 3rd place, or, you know, maybe even in 2nd place right now. So obviously we've made some improvements, but there's still work to be done to where we could potentially be in 2nd or 3rd place right now.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, Zach, thank you for joining us today, and we're looking forward to watching the team play Saturday against Coastal.
Thank you.
Coming up after the break, we have a Mountaineer Spotlight and coverage from softball and baseball over the weekend. Stay right here on the A Game.
ballerina.
Sometimes all it takes to be a dad is remembering how to be a kid again. Take time to be a dad today.
Welcome back to the A game. Our Mountaineer Spotlight this week is with Bailey Plummer of the App State women's basketball team. A-game reporter Candace Cooper got a chance to catch up with the sophomore forward this week before she wraps up what a great season that it's been.
Welcome to this second edition of Mountaineer Spotlight. I'm here with Bailey Plummer, who is a sophomore on the Appalachian State women's basketball team. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Good to be here.
Good. So my first question for you is, a lot of schools were trying to recruit you. Can you tell me why you chose Appalachian?
Yeah, I mean, Appalachian was close to home. It's about 2 hours from where I live. Had a lot of people from my high school come up here, so I knew people like prior to coming up here. I really liked the coaching staff and just felt like home on my visit, and I just knew immediately this is where I was supposed to be.
That's great. And you played basketball, softball, and golf in high school. Can you tell me why you chose basketball, why you wanted to pursue that in college?
Yeah, basketball kind of was just like my calling when I got to high school. Kind of like, put golf and softball to the side when I got to college and just really started to focus on basketball. And I don't know, I just really intrigued by the game, and scholarship opportunities were great in basketball. So I just felt like that, I needed to pursue something that, I could, continue my academic and athletic career.
So there was never a moment where you thought, maybe I'll do another one? It was always going to be basketball?
I thought about playing softball in college, but with time, the time constraint, it's just really hard to play, softball and basketball. So I had to ultimately pick one, and I picked basketball. So.
You did play golf and softball. Can you tell me if you still play it now and if you're good at it?
Yeah, I don't play softball anymore just because it's like a team sport and it's hard to, get intramural teams together or anything. But I do play golf, still frequently, in summer. That's what I love doing. I love just playing golf in my free time, and in the fall and up in the spring when it's, not so cold up here in the Boone, I'll try to go to the golf course and get around in. But yeah, I still enjoy playing golf very often.
So do you feel like you're pretty good at it still?
I don't feel like I'm very good at all, but I enjoy playing, so it gives me something to do. So.
Yeah. And who is your favorite sports athlete or in general?
Probably Stephanie Dolson. She used to play for UConn. She's about 6'4", 6'5", big post player. I feel like she's my role model. She's a good post player, and I just strive to be like her one day. And I don't know, I just really like your game and really enjoyed watching her.
And what kind of influence was your parents on you then and now in high school and college, in not only sports but also in your personal life?
Yeah, I came from a family where no one played sports, so my parents, always were just giving me perspectives, outside of sports. That was kind of good. Sports were my way, sports were my way of just escaping from the outside world. But at the same time, my parents were always there to support me, and take me to all the travel ball tournaments and everything. And they were just really supportive. And I don't know, I just really appreciate everything they did for me.
Awesome. And what do you enjoy doing when you're not playing basketball? Because I'm sure you spend a lot of time playing basketball, so what do you like doing outside of that?
Yeah, like I said, I love playing golf. I love being with my family, hanging around with my sisters. Anything outdoors, I love helping my dad, with lawn care and anything in the yard. I don't know, just anything outdoors. I love the summertime, I love the heat, and I love just being outdoors.
That's awesome. Lawn caring, that's an interesting thing to say that you enjoy.
Yeah, it is interesting. Yeah, we have a few yards that we mow, so I'd love to help him complete that. So
what are your future plans in college and also after, and what you want for your life?
Yeah, I'm currently a criminal justice major here at Appalachian State. My goal would ultimately be work for the Highway Patrol. But I want to first pursue UPS when I get out of college. That's my first goal right now. So we'll see how that goes, but ultimately Highway Patrol if everything falls through. So.
That's awesome. And you're only a sophomore this year. You've got at least 2 seasons left on the team. Can you tell me what a big goal of yours is that you want to do for the rest of the season?
Yeah, just continue to be a leader and, just try to help our team in any way possible. Be ready when my name's called, when my number's called, when they need me out there on the court, and just, be there for my team whenever they need me.
And what's your favorite part of being a part of the women's basketball team?
Probably just the atmosphere. I really like the Sun Belt Conference, just the conference in general. That's when I came here, we get to travel a lot of places, see a lot of new things, and I've never been to any of the states that the Sun Belt, any of our games, Mississippi, Texas, or Louisiana. I've never been to any of those states down south, so I've really enjoyed going to see new things and getting to see new places.
Is there one big takeaway from this season that you really want to take going into next season too?
Yeah, just we have a really young team this year, so just continue to build off that and just continue to improve our game, and hopefully, like I said, the wins have not been what we thought they would be this year, but just continue to improve, and maybe next year hope for something a lot better.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And that's all for this edition of Mountaineer Spotlight. I'm Candace Cooper.
Bailey Plummer is averaging 9 points this year with nearly 12 rebounds. That's a rebound and a half better than the next best rebounder in the Sun Belt Conference. So we thank Candace Cooper for sitting down with her and giving us more information on the sophomore forward for Appalachian State basketball, on what a great year that it's been for her. Now we're going to switch gears and go into App State softball and baseball from the weekend, and we'll begin with Shelly Horner's team in softball. The App State softball team recorded a 1-4 record at the UNCG Invitational Tournament over the weekend. The Mountaineers dropped 2 games to Virginia, one to host UNCG and another to Seton Hall. The Mountaineers were able to avoid going winless by taking down Seton Hall in the team's second matchup of the weekend, shutting out the Pirates 4-0. Annalise Kennedy took to the mound for the Mountaineers in their lone win, pitching a complete game shutout. And we've talked about them before, Ashley. This App State softball team, not picked to be very good this year, only had 2 wins, but it's been a great start for Shelly Horner's new team, and replacing Kara Parker, who has been a great player for 4 years for Appalachian State softball. Unexpected, but they've started off well.
Yeah, and even though people are just going to look at the wins and losses from over the weekend, each game, especially against Virginia and UNCG, who always have good programs, they played their best. It always came down to the last couple innings or so for the softball team, and they always had consistent pitching. Just consistent pitching, which is all you can ask for.
Right.
And we're going to move on to baseball, who faced UNC Wilmington over the weekend. The App State baseball team went 1-2 over the weekend against UNCW. The Mountaineers won Saturday's game with starting pitcher Colin Schmid tossing 11 strikeouts and allowing just 2 runs. The Mountaineer offense scored 6 runs of their own throughout 5 innings. The Black and Gold had a chance to win the weekend series, losing to the Seahawks 2-1 in extra innings. The Mountaineers gave up a bases-loaded walk in the 10th to drop Game 3. And what also the baseball team is not going to get enough credit for is always trying to give good games against UNCG and Wilmington, because Wilmington beat Carolina in their opening weekend of the season. So I think how people in the conference have overlooked softball, have overlooked basketball, they're going to overlook baseball, but they are way more competitive than what people are going to give them credit for.
Yeah, a lot of times you look at the schedule and you see Appalachian State, and if it's not football or wrestling, you're like, oh, this might be a cupcake game. But sometimes this Mountaineers team, for both softball and baseball, have been able to disallow that this year, and they've started off very well.
And let's move on to Player of the Week. The regular season for basketball comes to an end this weekend against Coastal Carolina, but junior Ronshad Shabazz led the Mountaineers in scoring on Thursday with 32 points. That's his 5th game this season with 30 or more points.
And when he's not in the locker room before games getting ready, he enjoys playing the new game, Fortnite, as he gets even closer to that music scene.
Growing up, he watched Chris Paul, but his all-time favorite player is James Harden with the Houston Rockets. So good luck to Ronshad and the rest of the men's basketball team as they close out the regular season before going to the Sun Belt Tournament.
That's going to do it for this week's episode of The A-Game. We thank you for joining us on AppTV for another episode. Take a look at our Facebook page for continued coverage of App State sports every single day.
We will not be with you next week due to spring break, but for updates, of course, follow us on Twitter and Facebook.
Until next time, I'm Braxton Critcher saying so long for Ashley Smith, Candace Cooper, and the entire A-Game staff.